Welcome to Revolutionizing Care, the podcast that explores the tech-driven transformation happening in healthcare today. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mark. Today we're diving deep into AI in healthcare, not as a trend, but as a capability shift. We look at how different types of AI, from machine learning to agentic assistance, are revolutionizing care delivery and why your strategy matters more than your software license.
Yep, exactly right. If you've ever been pitched an AI solution and then you walked away thinking, oh, that was cool tech, but now what? Then this is the episode for you. The real value comes not from the tool itself, but from understanding which AI capability fits your biggest challenge. And then how do you make that stick?
I think this is such a great topic because there are so many kind of buzzwords, and a lot of folks think AI is ChatGPT and they're synonymous, or AI is agentic assistance and they're synonymous. And that's just not the case. So we're going to dive into specific AI technologies. The first one is machine learning, and it really is the backbone of AI, especially in healthcare. Predictive models are trained on millions and millions of data points, whether it's imaging or labs or clinical notes. And all those are being used to flag diseases earlier and more accurately than ever.
Yep. And it's not science fiction. It's actually happening now. We see it in stroke detection, cancer screening, risk stratification, seeing a lot of that, and for chronic conditions. Machine learning models, they find patterns that clinicians might miss, especially when they're, kind of subtle or rare.
Here's the trick. If you don't know how to validate those models against your population or your workflows, they can generate false confidence. That's where the expert guidance is really critical.
Yep. So Mark, let's go to a second capability, computer vision, for image-based insight. And this form of AI is built to see. It can analyze medical images like X-rays, MRIs, pathology slides. Heck, we've even seen it take videos and analyze.
And, Jeff, you talked about this in the last podcast. This is one that's been used quite a bit. The accuracy is what is so astounding. Computer vision systems are being trained to spot microcalcifications and hemorrhages and early signs of diabetic retinopathy. A lot of this happens in near real time.
Yeah, but before you deploy computer vision, it requires more than just image ingestion. You need to have the right infrastructure, governance. Governance is a big one, and feedback loops from clinicians to ensure that it supports and doesn't override decision making. And that's going to be key for adoption.
That you're absolutely right. Another key is knowing when to use it, and more importantly, when not to. That's probably more than half the battle. That's again why working with someone who understands both the technology and the clinical environment is so important.
Exactly. So we're making progress here. We're down 2. Let's get to number 3, this capability. This is getting into the spots that people have probably heard of a lot. So it's generative AI, large language models. That's the one that everyone's buzzing about. And these models can read, they can write, they can summarize, they can even hold conversations, and it's all trained on enormous data sets.
In healthcare, we're seeing them used to generate clinical documentation, summarize visit notes, create patient education materials, and answer questions from physicians or patients. And it all happens in plain language.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful, but it's a double-edged sword because we still see hallucinations, there's bias, there's security concerns. Those are all very real. So you've got to have guardrails, auditing. I mentioned governance in the last podcast. I mentioned it a few minutes ago. It's going to be key. You've got to be able to have all of that so you can really get to context-specific fine-tuning.
These large language models are great co-pilots, but they are awful captains. A consultant who understands prompt design, embedding strategies, and use cases that fit to help make sure it's tackling your specific needs and it's leveraging your specific information can really empower clinicians instead of overwhelming them.
Yep. Yeah, the consultant angle here is going to be big. We're going to see that start exploding in, I think, every industry, but healthcare, we know we're going to see it there too. So let's get to the next one, Mark. Another capability. And this is one that people understand a little less, and it's agentic AI. And, it's mainly there for complex task management. So unlike traditional AI that performs one task at a time, agentic systems, they can plan, decide, and act across multiple steps to accomplish goals.
I like to think of it as kind of digital team members.
Yep.
They coordinate actions like collecting patient data or scheduling follow-ups or escalating care issues all by themselves and in context, which is really important.
Yeah, and unlike simple automation, agentic AI is dynamic. It can adjust course, it can pull in new data, it can make decisions based on goals and not triggers.
It's super powerful, but it's also really complex. Implementing agentic AI solutions require really clear policies. Its oversight is really important. And again, you have to have that governance. It's not something that you can just plug it in and hope for the best. You really have to map out exactly what the operation that you want to work, and make sure that it's really embedded in the right way in your clinical and operational priorities.
Yep. So, Mark, let's move to one that's maybe people would consider a little bit more of the softer side of how AI is getting implemented in healthcare. And specifically, what I'm talking about there are AI assistants for workflow and coaching. So, these are AI tools that are built to interact with users, giving them nudges or guiding them or even coaching them in real time.
Yeah, and some AI assistants help clinicians stay on task. They may surface best practices, or they may reduce the cognitive load that is required during charting. Others support administrators by surfacing the insights or guiding quality improvement.
Yeah, and the magic here is the contextual relevance. The best AI assistants, they don't just spew out alerts. They're really sitting there and they deliver micro guidance at the right moment based on the work that's actually happening right now.
That's what's critical. It's the behavioral intelligence layer. And that's one of the biggest missed opportunities for health systems. The right consultant can help identify where these AI assistants will truly drive adoption and where they'll just add noise.
Yep. So mentioning the consultants there, Mark, let's pivot quickly before we wrap up today. Why is strategy greater than software? Let's pull it back a bit. AI is not one thing. It's many capabilities. And the real challenge is matching that right capability to the right problem.
There's no doubt. You don't use computer vision to fix burnout, and you definitely don't drop a large language model on top of a broken process and expect transformation to happen. That's why AI consulting really matters.
Yeah, and a good AI consultant isn't just a technologist. They're translators. They're helping your team define goals. Then we get into tool selection. Then you can deploy safely and measure outcomes that matter.
Yeah, and having people that have that combination of technology, operations, and healthcare, the clinical background to me is really important. Without that, you get shiny objects. With it, you can get sustained impact, better care, lower costs, and ultimately teams that love the way they do their work.
That's the best outcome there. Teams loving the way they work. We've seen all the clinician burnout and people leaving the field, and I really do think AI is going to be a big boost in that area. So, Mark, wrapping up, here are the 5 capabilities that are reshaping healthcare. Let's just review quickly. So number 1 was machine learning, and that's all about predictive modeling. So that's being used for diagnosis and predictions. Then we talked about computer vision. That's where you're bringing in imaging. It's a great AI for pattern recognition, whether that's an image of X-ray or a pathology slide or even a video. Then the third one we talked about was LLMs and generative AI. That's the one that everyone knows about. That's amazing technology for documentation and communication. Then we touched on agentic AI. That's for autonomous workflows and multi-step tasks. So it'll plan the steps, execute the steps. It's like orchestration of multiple AI agents. And then finally, we landed on a little bit of the softer side use of AI around some of these AI assistants that are sitting almost as your coworker in the cube. They're there for contextual coaching and decision support.
Yeah, that's right. And there are so many different ways you can deploy AI assistants, but the real key is each of these 5 capabilities has the potential to transform your organization if it's used with intention. You really have to know the right time to pull out the right tool.
Yeah, and that's where the strategy comes in. So the AI revolution isn't about replacing the people. It's about empowering them with the right tools at the right time and guided by people who understand the full picture.
So if you want to learn more about how to select and scale the right AI capability for your organization, visit us at mlhealth.ai.
Yep. And thanks for joining us on Revolutionizing Care. Be sure to subscribe, share it with a colleague, and catch our next episode. See you next time.